So the Titans lied. Like 100% lied. First and foremost, the Titans have been to the Shadowlands. There's ample proof that the Titans have spent time within the Shadowlands, right? First and foremost, we can look at stuff within the Shadowlands and say, this does not look Shadowlandsy, this looks Titan-esque. Ouroboros comes to mind almost immediately. Even the Arbiter comes to mind. When you look at the Arbiter, who does she look more like? Does she look more like the Eternal Ones? Or does she look more like the Titans? If you put the Arbiter in the Titan Pantheon, she wouldn't look out of place. She would look, oh, look, there's another Titan. This makes sense, right? So just there's something weird about the Arbiter. There's something very weird about Ouroboros, and more importantly, the attendants tell us that the Shadowlands have been in perfect order. Who do we know that wants to bring perfect order to the universe? That's right. The Titans, that's what they do. They call it the ordering. It's part of their sort of MO, I suppose you could say. Now, let's go to Azeroth, and you can actually see evidence of the Titans' lies about the Shadowlands. And before people go, wait, what lie? Go read the Chronicles. The Titans writes in the Chronicles that no one knew quite what goes on in the Shadowlands. No one's ever been there. What we do know is the dead souls go there. That's it. That's their entire insights into the Shadowlands. Couple of problems with that. The Mogu seem to wield a bunch of magic and artifacts, as well as their architecture specifically very much resembles things that goes on within the Shadowlands. The trump card, however, comes from Raden. Myself and Apocalypse have been speaking about this 2 days ago. Raden not only uses anima, right? He has a fucking divine bell. He has a bell that you find in Bastion that does exactly the same thing as the bells in Bastion. It reorders your anima. It changes the way your anima reacts. It got there because the Titans was in the Shadowlands. You see, this is part of a big brain theory, so you guys will have to stick with me. I think I know why Zuval turned against the ordering, against the universe as it was. It comes from Steve Denuzer's interview. There was an interview where Steve Denuzer effectively told us the cosmological forces aren't working together. They're in balance because of their sort of fighting nature. They're constantly vying for control, but because all 6 powers are constantly fighting for control, they manage to keep balance. So the way they would do this is, imagine death, right, became too powerful and death was sort of threatening to overthrow the balance of the universe. Then it's conceivable that life and order, right, teams up and smacks death down so that death gets back in its fucking lane. And then after that, they break apart again, life and order, and they continue doing the things that they do, right? This is according to Steve Denuzer himself. They asked him, how does the universe work? And that was his answer, right? But we know that that's not true. We know from the Shadowlands that that isn't true. Because we already know that there's a deal that was made by either life and death, right, is in cahoots with one another. If I can use that very old school word. Either life and death is in cahoots with each other. However, I would actually argue that it's not life that's in cahoots. Life has been excluded from the cycle. It is order and death that made a pact, a sort of deal between themselves in order to ensure that the universe, because it seems to me like death and order care about the same kind of things. Death desperately wants to keep the universe chugging along because they gain power and anima as they chug along. You know, so death and order seems to want the same thing. They want the universe to just chug along and don't make waves, right? Don't make waves. That seems to be the thing the death and order want. Life doesn't seem to be represented within this unity that the death and order have with one another. And the reason I think life isn't represented is we know how life reacts. We know what life does. We've also had to fight life, if you guys remember correctly. Like, do you remember the Evergrowth? Why was the Evergrowth there? What was the Evergrowth doing? Why was life making a play for the universe? Life was making a play for the universe because life is at the moment excluded from the universe, because life just wants to keep growing until it finally destroys the whole universe. And I believe this is why Zuval realized that something within the system is wrong. You see, I think the Titans arrived in the Shadowlands, and the Titans started to order the Shadowlands with the help of the Eternal Ones. So the Titans came up with a deal. Amanthul came to the Primus and he said, hey, how about we make a deal? We'll set up the universe on our side to funnel souls into the Shadowlands. You guys then keep those souls and you send some of those souls back, right? And so we continue to preserve this cycle. This is what we're hoping to achieve. There was a problem though. So they all agreed they're going to set up this brand new Shadowlands. The Shadowlands will be ordered from this moment forward. And we know this because if you watch the cinematic where the attendant says, for eons.
For uncounted eons, the Shadowlands was in perfect order. Infinite afterlives, with Oribos, the Eternal City, as the shining heart.
The Shadowlands was in perfect order. Perfect order. Now, please remember, Blizzard does not put anything in a cinematic if it does not belong there, right? Blizzard is very particular with their cinematics. I have this from Blizzard developers themselves who work on the cinematics, who told me straight up, if something is in our cinematics, it's there because we wanted it to be there. We chose to have that there. The Shadowlands being in perfect order is not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be in perfect order. The fact of the matter is the Shadowlands is supposed to be the realms of death. That's it, right? It's not supposed to be in perfect order. The fact that it's in perfect order suggests that there was some kind of force on the outside that did something. The sigils. The sigils, I think, is the key to understanding the story. Constructs, Titans, and Eternal Ones, I don't think they're supposed to house anima. Now, what do we know of anima? We know that anima floats around everywhere, right? We know that. Anima is everywhere. How do we know that? Well, even Ravendreith built these giant spires that would just suck anima from the air, right? So there's anima everywhere. Anima flows around everywhere, but we also know that souls seem to be some kind of void, some kind of anchor, some kind of I don't know what the English word for it would be, but it accumulates anima and it's able to store anima within itself. So unlike normal anima that is free flowing and just flows everywhere, souls are like a battery, right? So energy is everywhere. We all know that. The entire universe exists of energy. Energy can't be destroyed, it can't be made, it can simply be changed, right? So if you burn wood, you're burning energy to create a new kind of energy, but it's all energy, right? This is anima. Anima is energy within the World of Warcraft universe. So the way souls function is like a battery. It pulls in the anima. It absorbs anima from outside. And we already know the more powerful the person, the more anima the soul can store. So anima seems to have an effect with our power levels as well as an effect with just how powerful we are or how good we are in one form or another. And I think the reason for that has to do with our connection to whichever cosmological force we belong to. So when you're a priest, for example, the more powerful you become, the bigger your connection to the light, the more anima are you able to siphon into yourself through the light. So whenever you use the light literally pushes anima into you, and you are then capable of using that and increasing your power levels. But it does not seem obvious from the start that Eternal Ones and Titans and constructs need anima. In fact, we can see how the constructs in the Shadowlands work. They cannot build their own anima. They can't really store anima, except if they were built to store anima. So you have to physically infuse them with anima, and that anima will deplete. When you look at Rodden, however, he is a construct, a keeper of the Titans, with the ability to not only store anima, but somehow regenerate anima. How does he do that? He's not supposed to be capable of doing that. It's a construct, after all. Sure, it can hold anima if you designed it to hold anima. If you didn't design it to hold anima, it will not hold anima, right? So you have to physically build like a container for it if you want the anima stored inside of it. Now, this is where I think the sigils come from. I don't think that the sigils came from the first ones. I think the sigils came from the Titans. The Titans designed these sigils as a way for Eternal Ones, Titans, constructs to house and hold anima. But this is where Zuval realized something isn't adding up. There must be more to this. This is why Zuval says they will learn death was never meant to be chained. You see, because the Titans came with a very specific deal. We will ensure that the universe functions as it should to funnel souls into the Shadowlands. But you will not rise up. So death will stay in its fucking lane. You'll house the souls, you'll be able to feed off the anima of the souls, you'll be able to use the anima to your heart's content. You will not, however, be able to rise up. So this whole thing of the different cosmological forces fighting each other, Death and Order does not fight one another. Instead, we have a deal. Zuval realized that he doesn't have to stick to that deal. The sigils hide something, and he wants to know what is it. What is the secrets that these sigils hide? The reason I don't believe that these sigils come from the first ones is that they can remake the sigils. The fact that they can remake the sigils suggests that these sigils were crafted by something of equal or similar power. If these sigils was divine intervention, so it was made by a first one, right, that gave them these sacred seals, how would they be able to remake it? This is from their gods. This is from their parents. This is from the people that created them. How the hell were they able to recreate and redesign these sigils? They were able to do it because they saw the Titans make it in the first place. Their brothers on the other side of the veil. Zuval realized that this is sick. The universe that his brothers signed up for, the universe that the Titans signed up for, is a sick universe. It's a universe that should not stand. Death wasn't meant to be chained. In his mind, death is powerful enough that it should be able to rule the universe. You see, but his brothers doesn't want that. They don't want to rule the universe. They're happy with the status quo. Zuval wasn't happy. In Zuval's mind, if he could reach the sepulcher of the first ones and use the sigils of the Titans to open the sepulcher of the first ones, he can reorder the universe and effectively take over. He could be the new god of the universe, because we've already discussed this in the past. If you wanted to talk about the most powerful entity on the planet, I think all of us would agree, out of all 6 of the cosmological forces, death would most likely be the most powerful. Considering you can't really kill death. Even if you were to go to war with death, it would just raise its armies again. Like, its armies will just continuously raise itself. Your anima will effectively be used against you consistently. So, death unchained is the biggest threat to the universe. This is why the Titans identify death as the one that they need to chain. Because if death ever realized its potential power, the universe would be fucked. So the Titans chained it down. Said, no, we'll work together, but you can't rise up against the universe, right? At least that's my theory. I don't know if people agree or disagree with that. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think?